Welcome back to another episode in the Oak and Rock Fatherhood podcast. Your host today, as always, A to Z, Anthony to Zac. We're covering everything in between. A to Z parenting, A to Z life lessons, A to Z fatherhood. Anything you can come up with, any topic, we've got an answer for it because we've either been through it or we know somebody who has and we've worked with them. Before we dive into today's somewhat uncomfortable topic for some, which is dating. Anthony, what's going on, man?
What's happening, Zac?
Not too much. I always wonder why we put ourselves in these positions where we got to talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about. And it's almost like I enjoy these conversations more than the regular ones because nobody likes to talk about it. Money, religion, politics. Talk about your kids dating. They're like, oh my God, you really got to get comfortable with these things because life happens. So with that, how have you been though? What's new?
I'm good, brother. Enjoying life. No complaints. Family's good. Fatherhood is a blessing. And as always, man, uncomfortable conversations. Let's have them. That's the name of the game.
Let's do it, man. Let's
We're
dive
not
right
backing
in. So
down.
we're talking about dating. I've got a son and a daughter. My son's 12. My daughter's 9. I'm going to go a little bit quickly through my experience because it's much faster. And then I would love to kind of just pick your brain and yours because you've got a lot more like reps you put in I've not had to deal with. And so my daughter, she's 9 years old. You know, they're not at the point of boyfriend, girlfriend yet. You know, there was a boy who like bought her something for Valentine's Day this year. And that was our first time going through something like that. And we're like, oh my God, here we go. Let's do it. And I remember talking to her, you know, and if you check my TikTok, there's going to be a video dropping soon. But I'm never going to be the dad who's sitting there cleaning his shotgun saying, you better bring my daughter back on time if you're a minute late. Because I know that is one of the most fakest bullshit moves a father can take. You're not going to shoot the kid. You know it. He knows it. The whole world knows you're not going to shoot him. So let's stop with that fake stuff because that puts you in a position where what else are you saying you're tough at, but you're not really going to do anything about. So in this situation, I spoke to my daughter. I was like, cool, you know, who is it? And it was one of the kids that I coached for football. And I was like, that kid's a great kid. He's motivated. He works hard. Awesome. I'm glad somebody like that wanted to buy my daughter something for Valentine's Day. Super cool about it. She was super happy. Easy day. We let it go. You know, and with my son, we've had conversations and he's basically like, I just focus on baseball, Dad. I'm just going to school and focusing on baseball. So
That's awesome.
I don't know what's going on there. He doesn't really care. He's just doing his thing. He's 12.
Not yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. And again, though, I tell him like, hey, man, like if ever you have any questions, anything like that, you know, we've had the talk. We've spoken about sex. We've spoken about, you know, like dating and kind of how things roll out, why my wife and I are the way we are. But with him, nah, there hasn't been much real engagement to go on. And so that's what I mean when I say I don't have any experience in this realm and that I know how I'll conduct myself. I know that when my kids come to me, nothing's off the table. And by showing them in these little moments, like my daughter getting the Valentine's Day gift, instead of be like, oh, who is this? Or I better meet him. Or he's got to. No, man. Cool. Awesome. I'm glad that you're having fun. I'm glad you got a nice little thing on Valentine's Day. Easy day. And I think that as long as we maintain that open relationship, she'll just know that my dad's not going to be weird about this. Like he's cool. He's got my back and he trusts me to make the right decision. And that's something you've always said is you've got to trust your kids to go out in the world. And that fear is what drives a lot of that overbearing parenting. And so your perspective on this topic, I think is going to help a lot more because how did you handle that when it did, you know, real dating started, real, you know, relationships were formed and were broken?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Right. Nothing, especially at a young age, very few young relationships last long. I would
I got to
say
put a plug in here. You've been with your lady since
I was going to just say me and you are the exception, right?
I was going to say we're doing well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I was just about to say that, but I think you brought up a valid point, right? It's how we behave as adults, our demeanor, right? If we're open or if we're closed, if we're trying to intimidate the boyfriend or the girlfriend coming over, it's important. I would say what's more important, and you know, something that I applied in my family, that I apply in my life, is I try not to focus on the external, right? Whether that's the boyfriend or the girlfriend, right? Who's coming to my house. I try to have my kids focus on what kind of relationship they want and who they are as a person. And in our house, we don't use manipulation. We don't use coercion, right? I haven't for almost 2 decades now. This is how I parented me and my wife. You know, for the most part, we're not perfect, but it's our plan. It's our goal, and it's what we try to stick to. So I don't really worry about boyfriends with my daughters. I have a 24 and a 21-year-old because I know that they understand what a real relationship looks like, right? A person who's good for them. Of course, they're going to make mistakes. They might choose sometimes the wrong person to be with, but they're not going to let it affect them long term. They're not going to let it hurt them when it shouldn't. And what I mean by that is, of course, you're going to get hurt in a relationship when you're dealing with love and feelings and emotions, but it would come more from them deciding that this isn't working, this isn't the person that I
Right.
want to be with, rather than having it be some dysfunctional heated arguments and blow ups and controlling behavior and manipulation where they have to say, we need to get out right away. So when I went through that process with my daughters, I really didn't worry too much, right? I wasn't like, oh, these guys are going to take advantage of her, or these guys are going to be bad for her, or these guys are going to manipulate her or manipulate my daughters. I just thought, you know what? If the dude's no good, they're going to recognize it because it would be like if you were born in a violent home and you went to a peaceful community. It would be great. You would be like, wow, what is this? Or vice versa. If you were born in a peaceful home and you went to a violent community, you would run out of there faster than you could, as you can, because it would be so foreign to you. You'd be like, why are people behaving like this? Why are they hitting each other? Why are they screaming and yelling and fighting? How is this what they accept in their life? So the, to ramble on a little more, I think it is confidence in your parenting. It's confidence in the environment you built in your home, what you're showing your kids every day on what connection should look like, what intimacy should feel like. And I think that's probably the greatest tool that you have, where you don't have to be the dad with the shotgun. You don't have to worry or tell your kids, and not even tell your kids, but worry and be over possessive. Like, where are you going? Who's this person? I know there's parents who they scroll on social media for their boyfriends and girlfriends that their kids are going out with, and they get highly possessive and
That's
overbearing.
wild,
And
man. I didn't know that. That's like never crossed my mind. What's this kid up
yeah,
to?
no, I mean, and think about it, right? It's if you're going to have standards for your kids for who they let into their life, who they date, those standards start in your home, right? You can't go and say pick a good person. Go find a boyfriend who's not controlling, who doesn't manipulate you, who won't hit you. But then in your home, you're controlling, you're manipulating, and you're hitting your kids the whole childhood.
Would you say in that context that it doesn't even matter if it's a boyfriend? You're teaching them to not let anyone come in without those
Any
levels of
relationship, yeah,
respect. And so it doesn't even matter if it's a boyfriend, it's even their friends. If they come in and start trying to change things in your home, like, oh, being violent or yelling, like, no, 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 no. We don't do that here. That's not for friends. That's not for boyfriends. Like, nobody gets a pass on the standard we hold for how we respect each other in this home.
100%. Yeah, it is a standard. And whether it's friendships, intimate relationships, any relationship that you have, and especially what about the one with yourself, right? To teach your kids to not be a victim, to not have a bad self-image, to not say I'm not good enough or I can't do it. So all these things play into who they're going to go out and meet in the world, right? And especially in a romantic partner. Um, it's to the point where and we talk about this a lot, but what you're feeding your kids, and I don't mean literally food. I mean what goes into their brain, how you
Mhm.
speak to them, how you talk to them, and the level of patience that you have, right? Being able to handle a difficult situation. If your daughter comes home and says somebody broke her heart, not fly off the chain, right? Not go crazy and say you're going to kill somebody and that, or say, "Oh, I told you so. That guy was no good. You just didn't see it." No, it's being present. It's about saying, "Hey, listen, I'm here for you, right? How can I help you? What do you need from me?" And then when you create that attachment, right now your kid is comfortable around you. There's a level of trust that was built just from the communication. Now you can talk about, "Hey, what do you think happened? Why
Right.
did it play out that way?" And to me, man, those are even though they're uncomfortable, those are some of the greatest conversations to have with your kids.
Not only with the connection, but also I'm trying to say, like, the solemnness of the moment. Like, you understand that something heavy is happening. when you're sitting down with them and you're going through those real life things. I've had those moments where you're sitting down, you're like, this is a big discussion. Like, this isn't something he's going to remember. This is going to have an impact on, her choices going forward. And I've spoken with Jackie about that, and we're kind of like, wow, we're getting to the point now where they're becoming their own little person and making their own decisions, and we're watching them, and like we're guiding, and we're like, hey, here's some things I can see, but you have to pick which sunrise you're chasing, which dot on the horizon you're walking towards, because that's a long way away. And right now, I'm just going to help you not fall into holes, but you choose which dot. But I think there's also an element we're speaking over here, and that is the fact that a lot of children, because of their resentment that builds with the parent and that chip on the shoulder, like, I'm going to show him, they go out and find people that are toxic. They go out and find, whatever the opposite of dad wants is, because he's so overbearing and saying, you have to do it this way. They're like, no, I'm going to go that way. Even if, had you left them alone, they'd have made that choice, because you didn't give them that freedom to choose. You force them to do it. It's like saying, don't touch the red button. You're like, oh, I got to press it. I got to see what happens. Your kids, they don't have that need to try to prove something against you. They can truly be free. And that's freedom, not just of like to choose the path they know they've been brought up to expect, when it comes to like, all right, this is a good person for me. They've shown all the attributes, but they're free from like, I've got to prove something to my dad or to my mom that I can make it, or that I can do this, or I can date whoever I want. And I know that person's against us, but I'm going to go with them to show my dad that I'm going to make my choices. I'm an independent man, independent woman, whatever. And you strip that away in the healthiest sense, to where they can just go and be free. They're not worried about you and your input on their choice.
Yeah.
They're more they don't I wouldn't think that I would go into like, oh, my dad would approve of you. My dad would not. It's like, what's best for me? My dad will support that. It's it's a small reframe, but I think it's important to bring note to that.
Yeah, no, listen, that's a great point, and I wasn't even thinking about it, but think about the child, or think about the daughter or the son, where they're subconsciously they're doing that, right? They don't even really understand that they're picking somebody that's bad for them to be in a relationship with. They're just doing it in spite, and it's not like they're saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go, grab that guy as my boyfriend, and he's really shitty, but I'm just doing it to hurt my dad or hurt my overbearing mother." They're doing it because they've been programmed to do so, right? There's such a lack of a healthy attachment in the home that they're going to go out and they're going to attach to anybody. Doesn't matter their values, their principles. Doesn't matter what they believe, how they hold themselves. As long as somebody gives them attention that is perceived as unconditional, right? Whether it's a guy who's just trying to play the girl, as soon as he gives her that attention and she sees it as unconditional, because that's what she really wants, then he's going to pounce in, and she's not even going to really understand why she did it. There might be a level of a degree to what you said, right? She's going to be engaged because she knows her dad hates this guy, right? Or this is the guy her dad warned her about. And that warning, right, saying, oh, these are the people you shouldn't be around, to a degree, again, I don't want to say that word a lot in this, but, but that is telling, your daughter would be, I just lost my train of thought.
I love that you critique your, like, as you're speaking, the back of your head is critiquing. Like, I'm repeating words. I'm talking too slow, too fast,
No.
I'm going too long. Like, you're so like looking at yourself do the thing.
I'm just trying to fucking process what you said before, man, because that was a solid point, and I just want to emphasize it. A lot of what we see with parents' behaviors, on how they dictate or how they try to control the kid, is a reflection of their bad parenting, right? It's like a deep rooted sense that they know they haven't prepared their child enough to go out into the world, to go have a relationship with somebody else, to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. So instead of actualizing it and trying to deal with it, right, they just keep suppressing it more. And then that's when you get real dysfunction, right? That's when you get families who kids are sneaking out and going with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and there's a lot of dishonesty and there's a lot of trust that is lost. So my advice would be, if you want to have some inner peace, if you don't want especially daughters, man, daughters are tough. My son, I don't really care too much about, in the same reason why, right? I'm confident in what I've taught him, But there's a lot of fucked up guys out there. There's a lot of guys who take advantage of women a lot easier than women take advantage of a young boy. Which I probably shouldn't say that because it probably it's equal. But it is a reflection that you have work to do, right? You need to better prepare. You need to implement different strategies within yourself on how you deal with difficult things. And could you imagine if your daughter came home with a young boyfriend, which she's 12, right?
She's 9. He's
Nine.
my
Oh,
son's 12.
a 9-year-old boy saying, "Hey, Dad, this is my boyfriend," and you were like, "Oh, like the kid doesn't even look me in the eyes. He's not even shaking my hand firm. He's 9 years old. What are we talking about?" Right? It's a lot different when an 18-year-old comes to your house, but this sets the stage for just a
Mhm.
toxic environment.
And one of the ways I look at this, and this is something that you've also, I'm not sure if it was through lived experience or just in discussions, but where they're coming from, they might not have had a strong masculine figure in their life. We talk about the oak and the rock, and she brings home a boyfriend that you disapprove of. You're like, this, he doesn't check any of the boxes that we talk about in this podcast. Yeah, he's never had anybody though.
Yeah.
And your daughter is saying that he's good for her. And you could even flip it. The girl's coming and she's not respectful or whatever like issues that you have with her. She might not have grown up in a place where she had that environment with family. Show them that. To me, it's when they come in, it's not like you've got to get through the wall. It's, hey, welcome to our home. One of my children decided you're good enough to be in these walls. That's all I need to hear. You are welcome with me. You're welcome to my heart. You're welcome at my table. Until you blatantly do something where I'm like, hey, this is not, something's wrong here, which I highly doubt is going to happen if you've parented properly. You might not like the kid personally, but who cares? You don't have to get along with every aspect. There's nobody that gets along perfectly with anybody. Why would you put a different standard on your child's relationship? But also, and this might bring up something that I think I know where I stand, and I'm pretty sure I know where you stand. But for those listening, they may be thinking, did we have a age set, a moment set? Was there a certain milestone for dating? And again, because of the position I'm in, it's very clear. Like we've not crossed that bridge, but I do not have any number where I'm like, all right, this is when you can go out on a date with a boy. I don't have anything like that. And I don't plan to put anything like that. So
It makes us seem so old, right? A dating age. Like
oh,
kids don't do that anymore, man.
all right, so maybe I'm dating us
They
because
don't
we
even
did. I was like, all right, at 13 you can go on dates or some shit like that.
Yeah, they don't even say they're dating, right? They don't even. It's. I ask my kids, do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or
We
my
just
son will be
follow
like,
each other on Instagram. It's
yeah,
getting
he's like, no,
serious.
we're just talking. So did you hang out last night? Yeah. Was it a date? No, we were just hanging out. The language is completely different.
See, I don't know these things. I
Yeah.
need you to pass that to me so
I'm
I don't say
learning.
shit in the
Yeah.
podcast that's so outdated. It doesn't even make sense. We got to pregame this.
No,
All right.
it's the dating
Well, I'm going to
age.
stand by my point. I do
Yeah.
not have a dating age. When they're at that point, we'll cross that bridge. I'm not worried about it. I'm not stressed about it. And this is a little bit of a segue, but we haven't run too deep into this conversation, so I'm going to go off plantation for a second. I'm going to say this. I put a tweet out there that was a picture of two heads, and it said, "Dad says," and one's like, "I'm fine." You know what dad really is, and then the other head, it was just a bunch of shit. I'm stressed out. I'm worried. Fatigue. Um, is the family taking care of my taking care of bills, money, like just a head full of nonsense. So I was like, "Hey, dads, are we really struggling this much?" And a lot of people said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Holy shit!" That was like a tongue in cheek post. I was like, "Are we seriously saying that it's this hard to get through your day to day with your family?" And dude, there are men struggling very bad, like significantly, with just leading their family. And I was caught off guard because normally I know kind of where my tweets are going to go, and that one went the opposite direction. I don't have that level of stress in my life. I don't have that level of like, oh my god. I do constantly think of the many things going on. I have a wife and two children, so there is definitely a full plate there. But it's fuel. Like it's just what we do. I'm not sitting there crying every night saying I'm not good enough. And when we talk about dating, just now that post hit me because how many men are stressed the fuck out because their kids are starting to date? They're so worried about, oh, you're going to meet this boy, you're going to talk to that girl, people are going to take advantage of it. The fear that you talk about, I think really needs to be understood that it is legitimate. Like your fear is a real thing and it's really making you make decisions you may not know that you're making. And so it's important that when we have these conversations, you dial it back a little bit so you can understand that, yes, you have to relax a little. You have to be comfortable enough to kind of let go of those reins and let the horses go where they need to go instead of you trying to tell every freaking move, white knuckling it the whole time. If you can do that, you'll be much more relaxed. If you're more relaxed, you're more efficient to do the things you need to do. You can just enjoy the relationship instead of being so tightly controlled over the relationship. You can soak it in instead of, pushing yourself to an early grave because your heart's about to blow up and your mind is full the whole time. It's just a heavy load a lot of dudes are carrying. And I think us having this discussion the way we have it will let some dads know it's okay for your children to date. You don't need to threaten to shoot kids. You don't need to be freaking out about age. You don't need to have these tight controls. You don't need to be sitting there watching them with your security cameras. Like, let your kids go. Let them do the things you've taught them to do. You've trained them. If you've done the right amount of connection and growth and you let them know what's going on in the world, they're ready for it. They have to flex those muscles. And to me, I think that would definitely alleviate some of the weight these dudes are carrying around in their day to day.
Yeah, that's wild. That so many fathers respond in that way.
Dude,
And
I didn't see it coming, man. I'm serious. I had no clue.
it's why we have these conversations, right? There's not a lot of dads who are having real conversations about how to be a better father, how to improve the family unit, how to handle and deal with hardships that every day you face it, right? It's your family, right? Whether you're at work, the wife's calling you, you come home. There's always these issues that pop up, and I think a lot of it is a lack in confidence, a lack of commitment to improve, right? There's so many other things that we waste time on that are less important. And yeah, no, man, I think that's great. I think that dads, um, they should really understand that. And I'm going to say this, not in the context of control and being overbearing, but dads are in control of the environment that happens in their home. So when your daughter brings a boyfriend home, you set the stage for what's going to happen. You set the stage if you're going to invoke stress and tension in that young man, if you're going to show him that you're welcoming him and you guys can have a good time, you can ask real questions, you can talk about life. You set the stage, you control that. He doesn't, right? And the same with your kids. They don't control that stage. It's your house. They're coming there to you. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you set the tone, that things are thoughtful in a peaceful way, in a respectful manner, not from them respecting you, but from you showing respect. And I think that's what's fitting, right? Dads, a lot of times they get defensive, and that's where it'll blow up in your face.
That's very well said. And I think that's a great closing point. If you guys have enjoyed the discussion, I mean, this is what we do. This is why we do it the way we do it. And so if you have something to add on to this, or if there is an area we didn't cover when it comes to dating, or kind of a situation you're facing that we might not have had the answer to, drop a comment below. Let us know. Hit us in the DMs on our social media. All the links are below this video. More than anything, apply what you've learned here. That's Anthony. I'm Zach. This has been another episode on the Oak and Rock Fatherhood podcast. Stay well.